Okay, I'm finally done working on this amplifier, and I'm almost ready to put it back in the cabinet and plug it in and do a sound test video. But before I do, I'll just kind of run through everything that I did. And I really thought I was just going to get in here and do a basic, quick maintenance on it. But it turned into a little more than that. There was just more going on in here than I thought. I mean, it was working and it was sounding okay. It was humming. I was putting up with some crackling and whatnot. But then when I started getting into it, there's just a number of things. Like this output tube here was cutting in and out. And if you remember from the earlier video, this is the one that had the strange terminal board attached to it. And anyway, it turned out just to be loose pins in the tube socket. So I had to flip it over and kind of rebend the pins and then just really get the tube attached in there properly, cleaning and spraying it out, brushing it out, etc. Anyway, so that was figured out, but it caused me some headaches. And then I put new screen resistors, new 470 ohm screen resistors there. And I left the 1500 ohm grid resistors alone. It's going right across the tube, and I know those get hot, but they're still testing fine. So come back and do that later maybe. And then I put a 1 ohm current sensing resistor to ground on pin 8 of each tube. And that 1 ohm resistor there allows you to tap the current and measure it. So it makes it easy to set the negative bias of the amp. The only way to figure out the current across the tube without those is to do some math. You have to take several measurements, do math, and figure out what your current is, and then figure out where to set your negative bias, which is what you do right there. And this just makes it so much easier. And I attached, the same way I did on the Fender Twin Reverb, I attached a wire to each of those current sensing resistors and then ran it to, where did it go? Oh yeah, banana plugs. Drilled a couple of holes in the chassis, put some banana plugs in there, attach those wires so that when the amp is all put back together, all I need to do is attach, you just attach one end of your multimeter to a grounding point, a screw on the underside, and then you plug your multimeter probe into either one of these banana plugs to test and see what the current looks like. And that way you can get at this from underneath the chassis as well. You can set your bias anytime you want, anytime you change tubes, anytime you want to just try and run it a little hotter, a little colder, whatever. Makes it very easy. So that's done. I changed those 0.1 microfarad 600 volt coupling capacitors because the old ones were there was some AC voltage showing up on this side, which is not supposed to happen, and the negative voltage from the negative voltage that goes into the grid was actually not. It was really high. These resistors, these two resistors here were bad. It's just all kinds of weird stuff going on. And when you lose or have problems with your negative DC voltage, it can, you can fry your tubes and make things sound like shit, at the very minimum. So anyway, change those. Left that one alone. Left this alone. Changed these old. Changed that one and I changed that one. I changed all the old electrolytic capacitors. You can see these new ones down in here and here and here. And then we were having the vibrato issue. which turned out, I mean, there's nothing wrong with the jack. It just needed to be really cleaned out really good. And then added this capacitor down in here that was on the schematic but not installed. And I know this looks like a mess here, but it's really not as bad as it looks. The eyelet holes are fine. It's just there's wax on the board that gets heated up every time you solder. And somebody's been in here before, so cleaned it up as best I could. And then you saw the video where I nicked that wire right there with a soldering iron. It's actually fine. You saw the video where I added the new optic coupler, roach, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, I went through and I did what I needed to do here. And at this point, it's as good as it's going to get for now. You know, there were a couple times that I started messing with something else, and then I don't know, every time you start messing with something, you cause another problem. So everything's good now, and so I'm going to call it good. Oh, and I removed that three-way grounding switch. Just, you know, it's cleaner without it. It's unnecessary, and I'll buy a little cap, little plug to put in there. So that's it. Next video is going to be the sound test.